I'm just going to rip off the band-aid here right away. This season is not great. After a 6-month string of heat that saw me dedicate almost 80 total minutes to nothing but openings, summer is the letdown period that we all knew was eventually coming. Except it's way worse than I thought it was going to be. My disappointment is partially because we had 2 great seasons back to back, but even then I legitimately think this is the weakest season I've ever looked at. Just such little variety and creativity, and if not for a couple standouts at the top, summer would have been a desert. We weren't even saved by that many great songs this time around either. It just feels like the vast majority of shows kinda just pumped out what they could consider a passable anime opening, and that's it. And given the amount of fantasy isekai airing this summer, I guess that makes sense. I did still want to talk about some of the better openings this season though, so I did include 13 on the list. But only really the top 6 or so are of the quality I would normally consider for these videos. And everything short of the top 2 is an opening you'd probably have seen in the 11 to 15 range back in spring or winter. So enjoy the spotlight now, because I don't think many of them are going to be coming back for the 2021 year in review. But before all that, this bland season did still have a touch of chaos. What happened to this My Hero opening? Like, I actually need to know what caused this to be created. Was it a budget thing? Did they not want to spoil the arc? Did they run out of time? Is this some sort of villainous plot to ruin the show's openings? What happened? MHA has never delivered us a masterclass in creative openings, but they've always been good. Even when they became increasingly generic, they were still good. If nothing else, the song was always a great fit for the show. The vibes are somehow so abhorrent here that even the Man with a Mission song isn't good. That should have been a slam dunk. Just get them in here to play a cool guitar riff, say a specific word over and over again, I would have eaten that up. From the very first bar with that weird synth and the JPEGs of the entire cast, something's just off. In the grand scheme of big franchise shonen, that I've watched at least, I think this is my least favorite opening of all time. If not, it's up there with Shippuden OP-12. But that Naruto opening has a couple cool scenes of fight animation. Why is there no fighting in this opening? Like, I've been complaining about MHA openings for 2 years now, but at the very least they were always good for a fun sizzle reel during the chorus. What is going on here? I'm sorry, I really don't like calling openings bad or focusing on negativity, but there are My Hero openings that I do like, and I'm still really enjoying the show, so I have a minimal baseline of expectations, and this is just baffling to me. How does this happen? It's like I'm being pranked. It's just like, do people like this opening? I'm not judging you if you do, but it's just not good, and it's breaking my brain.
Whoa, it's alright. Everything'll be alright.
Now that I got that out of my system, there are other shows in this category. Yami Shibai is back again with another dope sounding ED, and Sonny Boy just doesn't have an opening. The ED song is great, but as of this writing, the show does not have an opening. Which is disappointing given how cool and creative the show itself is. Usually these kinds of shows provide us with some great content. Nevertheless, after all my complaining, there were still some openings this season that I thought had some redeeming qualities. Just a crisp 6 OPs here this season, as it was already hard enough to fill out the entire actual list. Slime once again makes a return to the honorable mentions, as I guess I just have a personal vendetta against the show's OPs at this point. It's by far my favorite song from the series, and actually one of the better songs this season. I just can't handle the immense amount of walking. It's too much for me. And if you've ever wanted to know how diseased my brain is, I immediately picked up that this shot of Shion is completely reused from the show's first opening. I don't really have a problem with it, but that opening came out over 2 years ago, so I'm honestly a little scared at what I use my limited cranial space for. Elsewhere, Love Live's opening is shockingly pretty, and Scarlet Nexus has a great song from the Oral Cigarettes. But my standout moment from all these honorables is easily from I'm Standing on a Million Lives Season 2. That wake everybody up? Then let's get moving on to the best openings of summer 2021. I've sort of lost track as to where we're at with this Higurashi reboot sequel thing, but I can confidently say that this song fits this show like a glove. It exudes this feeling of creeping horror and mystery while also holding a good pace and letting Ayane's voice do most of the work. Ayane, to her credit, eats this song up, and after doing 2 EDs for the previous season and releasing an entire 13-song Higurashi collection earlier this year, she's done so much work in this franchise at this point that she really knows how to own it. The visuals also scream Higurashi to me, complete with the scary faces and the scraggly white lines that I'm pretty sure are supposed to be like film damage. But the opening's highlight to me is its fluid transitions and faux camera work used in the early section. It's easily one of the most unique things this opening does. Other than that, it hits the beats it needs to provide a decent psychological thriller opening, and at the very least, it's putting in an attempt to do some creative stuff. It's not one of the true killers of summer, but I do think its spot here at 13 is well deserved. If you've ever seen me list an opening in honorable mentions with just the word song next to it, this is pretty much the epitome of what I'm talking about. Sora to UTSURO isn't my favorite song of the season, but it's pretty damn close. That muted piano intro is so clean, and I love how powerful and upfront the bass is. It all melds so neatly around Sasanomi's soothing voice, and I could listen to this song for hours. I have no idea why every artist who used to be a Nutaite just makes fire music now, but Sasanomoli is no exception. His entire catalog's on Spotify, check it out when you get the chance. It's just a shame that this song has such little to work with. Now don't get me wrong, I think this montage of Vanitas and Noe exploring Paris is super cute and fun, and it's a treat trying to pick out where Vanitas is in every shot. It's just a bit bland for my tastes, especially with how pretty the show and the manga cover art is. My love for the music probably could have powered this up a few more spots, but you have to give me a little bit more to chew on visually. As it stands, I'd just go grab this song on Spotify and let the fact that it's an anime opening be a nice little footnote while you slam it on repeat. Does anyone know who edited this opening? I just want to have a quick chat. I often ridicule openings for not trying to match the visuals with the music, so I have to give credit where it's due. They certainly try to keep up with the BPM of this song. It's done to varying levels of success, but it caught my eye, and I definitely can't say I'm bored watching this. Now, most of the shots are your standard fantasy isekai fare, but I'm a sucker for a good falling shot, and the quick zoom is more creative than anything else we've seen so far. I'm not going to run out into town screaming the praises of these visuals, but this is a solid piece overall. But what gives the opening, and by extension the editing, its true power, is the strength and pace of this song. Shiodo is primarily a vocal aid producer who works with Hatsune Miku, but as you can see, the man still has wild vocal range when he wants to sing. If the editing didn't grab my attention, then his guttural rolling R scream at the beginning certainly would have. Aside from a short slowdown in the pre-chorus, the song hums along at around 200 BPM, giving you no time to rest, with the bass line putting the rest of the instrumental on its back, even if that wacky guitar riff is the most memorable thing in the song. There's also an animated music video for this song that's significantly better than this opening, but if I started judging MVs, we'd be here for hours. The opening is good, the song is great, and it just misses out on summer's top 10. Admittedly, there isn't a ton here that distinguishes this opening from any of the other isekais this season visually, but they certainly grabbed a killer song. It's the only opening this season I would really describe as groovy, and that vocalization at the beginning grabs you immediately. Kota Takenawa's vocals and piano really liven up the song as the rest of How Will Be Quiet go to work building that smooth groove. Most of their previous work is softer piano rock, so this is a very welcome change of pace. It takes the swing influence that's in a lot of their earlier music and just turns the dial a bit more towards funk. It's really nice. But as I alluded to at the top of this section, visually this is pretty cut and dry as far as fantasy openings go. We got some characters doing some goofy stuff, a fight scene, and some more characters doing some more goofy stuff. There is nothing offensive about any of this, it's just baseline opening structure at this point. The song is 100% the backbone here, and at the very least, the show didn't give us too many still frame pans. It's fun enough to be passable for me, and in this summer, that gets you into the top 10. Psych! So that slime OP we talked about earlier, yeah, that was the beta test. This is the real opening, and it slaps now. I've seen shows change up opening visuals mid-run before, but Slime feels like they finished it starting in episode 7. There's still some of those long walking shots, but they greatly improved on both the stagnant shots of the cast and the chorus. The old Shion shot is now crisp fight animation. There was also a very long shot of Clayman, which is now a more engaging showcase of the other Demon Lords. I can't overstate how much of an improvement this is versus the original. So many of its dullest moments are immediately rectified. And what that means is that one of my favorite songs of the season finally gets some ample time to shine. Like Flames is just a killer song that keeps it simple. It's going to get your attention with fire guitar work and great vocals. It's easily the best straightforward rock song on this list. It comes to us from up-and-coming artist MindaRyn, who is a Thai YouTuber who started her career covering anime songs on her channel and has now begun performing tie-in songs of her own. This is a super cool career path, especially given the fact that she started with the dream of performing anime OPs and EDs. But as we'll learn later on, cover artist to anime artist isn't as uncommon as you would think. She's also the first person to give me a slime opening I actually like, and that deserves a special level of praise. This got in here right under the gun, but the new and improved second version of the 4th slime OP proudly slots in here at the beginning of the single digits. This opening is just unbearably cute. In fact, it's so cute that I think it's convinced me to watch this show. From Sarasa's poofy hair when she wakes up to the little mannerisms she uses to greet her friends, the entire thing just oozes adorable, and I really want more of these characters. It helps that this is also set to really good opening music. I don't know how to actually explain that, but it just has great tempo and energy in the verse, but it keeps it restrained, and then really kicks it up for a spectacular climax. It just feels like this opening wouldn't work with anything other than this song. The band, Saji, has really perfected this sound over the years, whether it be a bit slower for an ED-type beat, or a bit more up-tempo like this song or Tsubasa, the first single they released under the Saji name. Because I also bring them up solely to tell you that they actually changed their name to Saji back in 2019 when they joined King Records, partially to capture their desire to scoop up and grab life, you know, with a spoon, but also because their old band name was Fat Man's After School, and I just think that's neat. Vocalist Takumi Yoshida explained the name, saying that when they formed the band in college, they would practice after school, and fat with a PH in English is often slang for cool. Keep in mind they formed the band in 2010. So essentially, it was like they were cool guys after school when they were all together and able to create music. They've now outgrown that and want a new name. While I think that original name is kinda goofy, I do respect the genuine sentiment here. Anyway, back to the actual opening, the absolute visual highlight here is that stunning chorus where Sarasa and I dance down that ribbon. The music sheet backdrop and the color change are so distinct when put against the rest of the opening, and above all, just really pretty. So pretty, in fact, that they made a pan of characters just standing there my second favorite shot of the entire thing. If the whole opening was as stylized as this chorus is, this would have easily been seated as a top 5, maybe top 3 opening. But as it stands, I think I will still give Kageki Shoujo the award for the cutest anime opening of summer. I have some mixed feelings about Nighthead 2041's opening, but I want to commend it for at least trying a lot of stuff. The CG does look goofy at times, but I think they do plenty with the backgrounds and quicker cuts to make it so you don't even notice. There are so many colorful and interesting backdrops flashed throughout the whole thing, and those eye shots at the beginning are a particular high point. And there are even some primarily CG shots that I do think look really cool, like the glass shattering and the bloody teardrop. I think if the whole thing was a bit cleaner, it'd really be a top flight opening. The ideas are there, they're just sometimes offset with a wacky spin around or an odd idle shot. Luckily, the music picks up a lot of that slack. Fresh off his Jujutsu Kaisen OP, Huya Extended is back where it all began with a sci-fi crime show. This song is much more similar to his Psycho Pass 3 efforts and, per usual, does a great job putting the focus on his recognizable vocals. In fact, it's pretty close to a structural copy of his Psycho-Pass 3 OP, Cubism, right down to the talk singing at the beginning leading into a big guitar intro. However, it is missing as memorable of a guitar riff as Cubism, and certainly as the Vivid Vice one. So if I had to rank them, then I'd probably put Icy Ivy at the bottom. But that doesn't mean it's not good. I think it really captures what Huya does best, and I think his voice is perfect for a show like this. In my opinion, he has one of the most distinct voices in this field, and given a bit more time, he really has a chance to approach the throne of Toru Kitajima. And if you don't recognize that name, now you do. I have no idea how good this show is or will be, but I'm very happy with the amount of effort they put into the opening, and sometimes all you have to do is try. Man, I hate that this opening is good. Having to acknowledge that anything about this show is quality pains me. But we're here to judge openings, not shows, and this here is a good one. It features a song by all the main girls that is not my type of music at all, but I just can't get it out of my head. That descending vocal sequence in the pre-chorus is just a brutal earworm. There isn't even that much instrumental here either. It's a light piano, a bass, and a drum beat, and yet it's just insanely catchy. I often applaud songs here for having rich, complicated mixes, but this song proves that sometimes all you need is a fun beat and some great singers. Luckily, the visuals are not as stripped down here. They use the tried and true color coding technique to instantly bring some style to, those intro shots, and I'm honestly astonished that this show would go out of its way to spice up still frame pans, even going as far as to have it transition into a fourth wall break. The punch transition is well animated, and hey look, he's Asuna now. The fun little dance sequence brings us home, and this whole thing is just a good time. It may be my low initial expectations, but there are very few moments here where you're not engaged, and I really didn't think I'd be saying that about the opening for a weird women's dormitory show. I may have less than zero interest in watching this, but they put in the work for this opening and should be rewarded for it. So this was one of my more hyped shows going into the season, and I don't really want to talk about that. But the one saving grace is that this opening is pretty good. The song is a sleekly produced piece that's orchestra and piano heavy, but contains just enough guitar to satiate my primal cravings. It's a really strong collaboration between the singer Mary and the producer John Yakitori, as I think they really melded the song around her strong vocals, but still had plenty of tricks to play instrumentally. I had admittedly never heard of either of them, and I'm also not very well versed in the Vocaloid or Utaite space, so boy was it a time digging into this. First, John Yakitori is a Vocaloid producer who works with a different number of Vocaloids in their songs, but has begun to bring in real singers to produce for as well. Most recently, they've dropped a string of songs with the singer Ado, who coincidentally had a #1 hit back in March with her song Usiwa, which was produced by Sudo, who we talked about like 5 minutes ago. Have I lost you yet? Anyway, that song's music video has 170 million views, if you were wondering with what caliber of musicians we're dealing with here. Back to John Yakitori real quick, a lot of their music before this opening is fairly fast-paced, really out there and guitar-heavy. So I can't say I'm not disappointed about the cleaner, more J-pop sound this song has. But as I said, it does fit Mary's voice quite nicely, and I think that's the point. Mary is an utaite, and I mentioned that word earlier, but if you don't know what that means, it's essentially a cover singer, but there's a little more nuance to it. It's primarily someone who covers Vocaloid songs, songs from anime and games, or J-pop, and then posts videos on niconico primarily, or now sometimes YouTube. You've definitely seen videos like these on YouTube, probably of Vocaloid songs. It's just sometimes tough to know their covers without having the required knowledge of the space, and I certainly don't most of the time. Sometimes utaite move on and start making their own music, like Nano or Eve, but that's not always the case. For Mary, this is only her third original song since she started back in 2013, with over 120 covers to her name. I actually realized while doing this that I've been listening to her cover of Daybreak Frontline and Allison Freezer for years now, and I just didn't know they were covers. But I was always struck by how strong and beautiful her voice is, and that definitely shines through in this opening. Now that I've taken far too much time outlining the background of this song, let's get to the actual reason this is even at 6, these snappy, colorful visuals. For the first time this season, we finally have some honest-to-God quality transitions. They're not all as seamless as I'd like, but the one where Siesta spins away is S tier. I also really like the section in the chorus where she disappears and then Kimihiko comes screaming across the screen. I don't think they contrast the blue background enough, but when they do, it really pops. Overall, the whole thing can sometimes come off as a weird green screen edit, particularly that part where he's running on the top of the screen, and we'll see an opening later that I think does this same general premise a little better. But I do like the idea here, and I think it's well put together. The song fits what they're trying to do, the transitions are often very impressive, and I just like that it's not the same generic opening shot catalog. A bit cleaner visually, and this really could have placed even higher, but I think it's engaging, creative, and fully deserves this spot at 5. If you're looking at this and thinking, wow, this kind of looks like that last one, well, you would be right. This is yet another opening that operates almost like a green screen, except this time it's executed much better. It actually feels like these characters are a part of the opening instead of simply being put on top of the backgrounds. And nowhere is that done better than when Bochan literally gets hit in the head with part of the title card. Now the show itself is in CG, and our main duo here are as well, but similar to the better parts of Nighthead's OP, I think it's a benefit, mostly thanks to the solid lip sync. I don't think it looks incredible, but their movements are fairly smooth and I think the models look very good. It also certainly helps that they're placed in front of and around some gorgeous backdrops. That opening shot with the mansion reflected in the lake is my favorite, and it's enhanced even more by the shooting stars in the night sky. I could really use a wish right now theme pervading the rest of the opening. The shots with the umbrellas are also quite pretty, and I have a weird weakness for claps synced up to something on screen. They throw in color contrast much more than our last opening did, and I quite like their use of silhouettes on white backgrounds. The credits spinning around on a wheel in the chorus is also a really nice touch. There's just an astonishing amount of fun little stuff in this whole thing, and it really gives it life. The song is not to be outdone though, as I really like this duet from the main characters. And Natsuki Hane is officially one of the most talented seiyuu I have ever seen. The range this man has is so vast that I didn't even pick up that this was him until I looked it up. He does a wonderful job singing while also simultaneously capturing the intense nervousness of this character. His partner Ayumi Mano is actually even better vocally, and this is her first ever main role in a show. I praised Hane first here, but she really steals the show. With that level of singing chops, I'd like to think we'll be seeing a lot more of her very soon. It's a cute song for a cute opening that nails just about every single trick it tried to pull off. I really wasn't expecting much from this show, and I'm pleasantly surprised with what they were able to deliver. This is the final form of our green screen trio, as I am now calling them. Put your anime characters in front of a wacky fun background. It's the hot summer trend, all the kids are doing it. Except Girlfriend is doing it with depth perception. I don't know if you picked up on this, but the show features a love triangle. It's okay if you didn't, they're pretty subtle about it. Jokes aside, this is a very tight piece of an opening. The colorful triangle background is thematically appropriate, even if it's kinda over the top goofy, but then that comes back around to being perfect for this show. The shot choices are all spot on, and I really do like how all the characters are walking around in this space. It adds something a lot more unique to this opening and really spices up these character shots. There's just something so oddly satisfying about seeing these smaller versions of the characters while one larger character takes center stage. The chorus is then the cherry on top with a pretty cool punch and some very well done eye transitions, followed up by a cute little shot where they're all hanging out outside their color-coded triangles. It really is the little ways that this opening plays with depth perception that do impress me. Still, there isn't too much that I would say this show does significantly better than our last two on the visual side. I just really like this song. I think this is the longest it has ever taken in a seasonal video, but we finally have a band that I am just a normal fan of making an appearance. The Karaitaki have such a fun, upbeat sound, and that is not lost here. I mean, there is literally like a whoa sound that plays as we transition into the first verse. However, don't take that as me saying anything about this song is gimmicky. The guitar riff combined with the muted vocals is one of my favorite musical sections of the season. And then the song just builds so naturally from there. Mosa's voice can just cut through any instrumental. And guess what, folks? I hope you took notes earlier because she used to also be an Utaite before joining the band. and you thought I never teach you guys any important real-life information. To make things extra weird, lead guitarist Ren Asahi is also a Vocaloid producer on the side because every single seasonal video needs some irrelevant theme, and this is summer's. Anyway, Girlfriend really did go all out here and managed to create one of the more complete anime openings from this season. In fact, I'd confidently say this opening is the best of the rest. But unfortunately for our polyamorous friends, they got me in a mess of trouble again, and are not going to even come close to sniffing the top 2. This is a good opening, but you're about to see what a couple of incredible ones look like. Finally, an opening that can actually go toe-to-toe with the big boys. Dragon Maid's first opening is iconic, and remains one of the few openings I've walked around with at a con while blasting out of my phone. It's catchy, it's cute, and the spinning can't take that away from us. But upon further review, the visuals in the sequel absolutely blow the first one out of the water. From the first few bars all the way to the cast shot at the end, this is a non-stop party. And I'm sure some of you immediately thought that that intro segment looked familiar. That's because it is. It's essentially the same exact opening sequence from the first Nichijou opening. That's just kind of funny, until you realize director Tatsuya Ishihara did the OP for both shows. So not only is it a fun callback to an old KyoAni show, he's basically just flexing his own work. It's a well-deserved flex too, as that is easily my favorite part of this opening. As the self-proclaimed transition guy, I feel like it has to be. Each little vignette is colorful, well-animated, and captures each of the characters so well. It's close to the strongest way you could start any opening. And then they just follow it up with 4 fully choreographed dance sequences. Toru and Elma probably have the best one, but I think my personal favorite is Ilulu's. It's just so snappy and clean. The chorus resorts to some more standard shots, but man is it all just so pretty and well animated. And once again, Ilulu has one of the best shots in this section. I like the small callback to the first opening with the spinning, and the cast shot is a nice way to wrap it all up. The entire thing is just a visual marvel, and I expected nothing less from Ishihara and the rest of the Kyoto Animation team. On the musical side, I'm really glad they brought back Fana, because I'm a huge fan of openings having continuity, and also Rhapsody of Blue Sky slaps. I don't think Love Supreme is as good as that song, but they still really managed to capture what makes it great. There might not be any Choo Choo Yes, but they do have their spiritual successor in the Papara Papas. The almost rapping style can be goofy at times, especially when it's Kevin Mitsunaga's voice coming out of Toru or Elma's mouth, but the dancing section wouldn't work without it. And in fact, in their actual music video, they're doing the same choreography as in the opening. Still, my favorite part overall is when they just let Tawana loose in the chorus. Her voice is incredibly strong and beautiful, and she once again steals the show. Overall, the song has just as much, if not more, energy than the first opening, and I love the fact that it just seems like they're having an extraordinarily large amount of fun. Their music fits Dragon Maid to a T, and I'm really glad they're here again. When you combine this red-hot song with those sweet visuals, you get one of the best openings of 2021. It's one of those openings where you know the song and the animation were carefully crafted together and work off each other so well. But against all odds, there was still one opening I liked a little better. I know I ended the winter video by hyping up Horimiya as a potential opening of the year, but Odd Taxi has shot past that to such an extent that if something is able to pass this, I don't know if I'll be able to even compose myself. All of summer, all of the monotony, all of the still frame pans, all of the fantasy isekai was worth it just for this opening. This is a masterclass in mind-boggling opening animation and just a stunning piece of art. It's psychedelic, colorful, and gorgeous while also maintaining meaning and relevance to the show. And it has an absolutely kick-ass song that I cannot stop listening to. Let's start with those breathtaking visuals. I mentioned in my video on Idaten that the show often likes to play with colors and change them up on a scene-by-scene basis. Here they take that idea and just expand it into the 8th dimension. If you go frame by frame through this opening, you will be hard-pressed to find two back-to-back frames that look exactly the same. Everything is always moving, changing, rearranging. I'm not going to go shot for shot here because you'd be stuck with me for another 20 minutes, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. First, the way they do character shots is unreal, and this bizarrely beautiful take on body horror is arguably the most memorable part of this entire thing. It runs into the rest of the verse, too, with my favorite series of shots being Hayato's disembodied chest, Nickel cut in half, and Paula unzipping her skin to show her spine. You know, I didn't realize how incredibly metal these visuals are until I laid it out like that. The final moment that solidified this at number 1 on first watch is when Hayato breaks the opening at the beginning of the chorus and then it just turns into a Mob Psycho-esque diorama. Somehow the visuals just continually get crazier and crazier and the insane transitions hold their ground. And that's before the last series of shots where the characters are slowly animated in this space and the parts that are crumbling off of them form the title of the show. I'm not feeling too good, Mr. Idaten. There is no downtime and not a single weak section of this opening. This is director Seimei Kitokoro's first ever opening he's headed, and let's just say he's batting 1,000. The linchpin of this whole thing is the song though. Those opening bars and that incredible guitar riff put me on notice immediately. I really wish I could just play it in its entirety here, but you'll have to believe me, it builds more hype in 10 seconds than any other opening this season does in its entire run. Then they pull off an insane bait and switch and the song launches into nothing but a low beat, a huge bass, and Tatsuya Kitani's voice. It's kinda weird, but in the exact way this opening needs. Kitani is an incredible singer-songwriter who can make some sleek and polished music and also stuff with more of a unique sound like this song. He actually has quite a few songs like the verse here that are more stripped down and really focus on his singing ability. I highly recommend just going to check out his catalog on Spotify because I can't really do it justice here. There's more guitar bangers, some low-key piano, some jazz and swing, and even some electronica. He also actually did assist on the second Mob Psycho OP with his band Sajo no Hana because my brain can just create these connections before I even find them. Case in point, Kitani is also a Vocaloid producer in his free time. Back to the song. I love the echo effect he uses on almost all of the vocals. It basically creates backup vocals while also contributing to the atmosphere of the opening. And then he turns it up to 11 at the chorus where he just has actual backup vocals. Speaking of that chorus, it crashes into you so hard thanks to all the work the first 50 seconds puts in. From dangling the main guitar riff in front of you before yanking it away, to that booming bass drum slowly speeding up. It's just as masterfully created as the visuals it's alongside. It's a slammer of a song, this is a killer of an opening, and something that you need to go watch in its entirety after we're done here if you haven't already seen it. And given the viewership numbers this show is currently pulling in on Mal, I'm guessing you haven't. I don't actually know if I'll prefer Idaten over Odd Taxi in the long run, but that's a problem for December Ian. For right now, I'm handing the summer and 2021 crown over to Idaten. This might not have been the best season of openings overall, but for the second straight video, I've discovered an all-time great. Hopefully this fall brings back the total quality of the earlier months, but if all it does is give us another Idaten level OP, then I can't really be mad. This opening is a masterpiece, and if fall wants to mess around and give me something even better, well, bring it on. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Crazy that I actually got this out in a reasonable amount of time and not after the season ended. I'm learning. There is actually a reason for that. I've decided to take the channel a bit more seriously the rest of this year in an attempt to put me in a better spot moving forward. As you can probably already see, I want to try to aim for weekly uploads, but I'm not going to kill myself to keep that. Either way, you should be in for a lot more content than usual in the coming months, and hopefully it pays off. So if you know anybody that might be interested in some hot anime YouTube content, shoot the channel over to them. It'd be mighty helpful. And as usual, if you liked this video, sharing it would also be a huge help to me. YouTube doesn't show it, but they do count number of shares in the whole algorithm, and also a share just gives this video more of a chance to get new eyeballs on it. Outside of that, like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. And I mean that comment part. I know y'all have anime opinions, and if you've made it this far, I want to know what your top list for this season is. I can guarantee that it's different than mine, and I want to see it. I'm especially talking to you regulars here. Let's make this a new tradition. I show you my list, and you show me yours. Anyway, that's about all from me for now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you around.